If you were to ask me the question, how are you? Anytime between the past, let's say, 6 months, I would have a very hard time answering that question. Um, it's been a hard couple of years for me. Hi, my name is Marty, also known as Rachel. And aside from being a weird YouTuber who never uploads videos and a trans woman now, I'm also a recovering cocaine addict. And I'm here to tell my story for what that's worth. I've been dealing with very heavy depression ever since I was a child, and in these past few years, I've gotten some of the worst depressive episodes of my entire life. There's like a huge gauntlet of reasons why, but they're mostly love related and just sort of like struggling to love myself. But something that's been consistent this entire time is that every single time that I get sad or super depressed, I try to find some happiness in something new. The first thing I did was to start self harming, which I've now been clean from for about a year. Then I started to get really obsessed with my weight and just sort of fucked my eating schedule and started to develop this ED that I eventually got over with, but it took me a couple months. And then most recently, I got addicted to cocaine, which is the topic of today's video. This one didn't start as a coping mechanism, believe it or not. When I first started doing coke, I was surprisingly happy. I mean, I was dissatisfied with my life, yes, but I wasn't as depressed as I am, let's say, now. It wasn't something I did to cope with my sadness or anything like that. It was just something I did once and then it turned into what it is now for me. The very first time I did coke, I remember I fucking loved it. The best experience I've ever had with drugs at the time. I liked doing weed, I thought it was kind of fun. I like smoking cigarettes. I like a lot of alcohol. Sometimes I just like down an entire bottle of vodka and talk a lot of shit throughout the night. LSD had been kind of underwhelming. Shrooms made me want to kill myself, but cocaine became my favorite so quickly. And I started coming back to it over and over and needing more and more each time until it became this addiction that I just couldn't stop doing. It started to become a problem around March when a very specific incident happened in my life. It all went downhill from there. It turned my casual enjoyment of the drug into a very bad, very, very bad habit that I turned into a coping mechanism. I remember I was out shopping on my own, trying to get something to eat, and then out of nowhere I ran across this person who I have a lot of trauma attached to, and I looked back at them, and I swear they were looking back too. So when I came home, I had the worst anxiety attack of my entire life. I was so hurt just to see them. I remember I couldn't even breathe or even eat anything. I had a Subway sandwich and I couldn't even eat that. So in a fit of desperation, I grabbed a little baggie I had laying around full of Coke and I just did a couple lines. My thought process was maybe when the effects of the cocaine go away, the natural anxiety I have right now will also vanish along with it. And believe it or not, it actually fucking worked. I was so unanxious when it ended that I just fell asleep after. And that was concerning as fuck because I ended up doing it more and more times every time I felt like I was too sad to take something. It started to become an emotional pick me up in my life and not the very dangerous but ultimately fun party drug it's supposed to be. From there, it all went to shit really quickly. What was once just a fun thing I did was now an addiction that had turned very dangerous, very aggressive out of nowhere. After this incident, I just started spiraling. I did it once a week, then twice a week, then thrice a week. Then I tried to stop, did it only on the weekends, every 2 weeks and so, but I never got around to actually getting better until a lot later when I just knew I couldn't keep doing it. Cocaine made me feel great physically, it's one of the most addictive ones for a reason, but emotionally it fucked me up very quickly. Every time I caught myself doing it again, I just couldn't bear the pain of seeing everybody's disappointment in their eyes. I couldn't even concentrate on the short-term rewards that it gave me. The dopamine rush wasn't enough to hide the fact that all my friends and even my partner at the time were very disappointed and sad about this whole ordeal. And even then, I couldn't stop for a while. I remember I called my friends crying a lot of times, telling them that I had relapsed and that I was sorry, only to do a fucking line afterwards, like a minute after I hang up on them. Even when my heart felt like it was gonna stop at any moment from how fast it was beating, I had morning snorts of coke, moments where I thought I couldn't take the weight of the day if I didn't have any, moments where I had to take some just to keep myself awake most of the day. There were days where I had nothing on my body besides cocaine, no drink, no food, literally just a bunch of coke, because I couldn't eat anything or drink anything. The thing about doing any sort of hard drug is that it implies lying to people. You're never 100% honest when you have something like this weighing on your brain. You can't tell people where you are exactly or what you're doing or if you relapse again because it's too embarrassing and too scary and too disappointing too. A lot of people in my life were completely clueless as to how much of a problem it was becoming because I was actively ashamed of it. The amount of times I waited for everybody who could ever help me to fall asleep just so I could do another line is countless. I did it so many times throughout these months, and it always fucked me over in the end. And sometimes I didn't even wait until the night came to do it. I just did it in the middle of the day because I missed the feeling so much. I started to fall in love with the ritual that came along with it. The foreplay from making the lines with your credit card, crushing any big chunks up before, snorting it, rolling any bills I had laying around, and then finally snorting that thing up and feeling the very anesthetic, sort of bitter taste go into your throat. I fell into the trap of thinking it was cool because it fit into my, skinny, transgender, super depressed, drug addicted sort of persona that I have around myself, which is very stupid and very dangerous as well. And thankfully, now that I grew out of it in a way, I feel like it's a lot more immature than I realized at the time. It was a phase, and when I got over it, I realized that I had to get sober and I had to get clean, and that's where I sort of am right now. I want to take a little bit of time to answer some frequently asked questions. What's the most cocaine you've ever done in a day? 2 grams. So like 30 small lines or so throughout the day. You don't get to do it all at once because your nose gets super clogged up because it makes a bunch of mucus, so it doesn't get all the way through. But it's still way too much, way too fucking much, and way more than like anybody should have to take to get high on it. The thing is, I have a very high tolerance now because I've done so much of it. It also ended up being my worst experience with it. I had my closest call with an overdose that day. I couldn't feel anything. I threw up a bunch of times after I did it. I felt like shit. I felt like I was going to have a seizure. I felt sick. I couldn't eat for like 5 days in a row. Thing is, it was very bad cocaine, probably cut with something. Didn't even feel good. Something, and I was probably scammed or something, which is depressing to think about. And I ended up throwing most of it away at the end of the night because I just couldn't take any more of it. Has this affected your transition? Yes, it has. It slows down the process a lot because it fucks with your entire body in ways that I can't describe in depth because they're so complex, but anything that fucks with your hormones is not good for you. That's kind of the main deal with it. First of all, no, I didn't get skinnier, which is like the main thing people say about this drug. They think, people get skinnier because they don't eat on it. The thing is, I barely ate anytime I had this drug, but whenever I did eat, my body would cling into the food really aggressively and try to get every single nutrient from it as fast as possible, so I would actually gain weight, if anything. I often got full of pimples on my body. My sort of cute nose got super swollen and fucked up for a couple of days every time I did it. Sometimes I'd take some very poor quality coke and fuck up my nose and get very bad nosebleeds. I'm gonna show you something kind of weird. So from doing so much coke, I developed a little skin pit in my nose, so you see this? Like my septum piercing? It's almost always turned to the side. I had to fix it every time I take a picture because I don't want people to notice. But that's one of the main effects. Like my nose is forever fucked because of this. I still have like that pit. The little pit inside my nose is not going away anytime soon. It's staying with me forever, I think. But I'll talk about the physical effects and the more heavy things a bit later. What's the wildest thing you've ever done on cocaine? I had a psychotic episode and tried to cut my nose off with a knife. Thankfully, no scars were left behind because the knife was sort of rusty and didn't really have a lot of edge to it. But it did get me hospitalized and I got some psychiatric medication because of it. How do you stop taking cocaine? Well, there are many methods. The most popular is the cold turkey method, which consists of cutting the drug out of your life completely, basically out of nowhere, and never getting back to it. I am sort of skeptical of this method. I tried it once and it didn't work out for me. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get rid of it one day at a time. I'm trying to take less and less coke every time I get the chance to. So let's say I went from once a week to once a month to once a month and a half to 2 months, and that's sort of where I am right now. I'm also taking a lot of medication and going to a psychiatrist and therapy and seeing if I can get to an A as fast as possible. How do you know you're addicted to coke? The thing about doing cocaine is that it doesn't leave the very obvious, very physical effects of other drugs, like, say, heroin do. Aside from my nose and my eyes being kind of fogged sometimes, I don't have any weird skin issues. I don't have random tissue laying around. I don't have teeth missing. I look good. Sorta. And that is also pretty dangerous. You have no idea what you're looking for unless you notice the very specific signs. And the very specific signs are as follows. 1. If they're super annoying about it and always bring it up unannounced. 2. If their nose is very stuffy all the time and they keep making this noise. And especially that is the cocaine noise, right? Also, if they're playing with it a bunch, that's also a very good sign that they might be on coke or might be addicted. 3, if their temper is kind of weird every time there's no coke around, especially if they're very angry. The cocaine drop-off is very hard on people, and it often leaves them super aggressive with others and very confrontative. It doesn't happen with me personally, but I've heard it's pretty common, so that's why I bring it up here. If they have very quick mood swings around the day, it might also be a sign. And 4, if they have money issues. Cocaine is an expensive drug. Everybody knows it. Even in my country's currency gets super expensive. So if they start selling their things or having very big issues with money, keep that in mind because it's going to be a very big sign. These are all super subtle signs in comparison to other drugs, which is why I say, really, really keep an eye if you think somebody you know is very addicted to cocaine. I hate that talking about it makes my eyes light up, because nothing really matters in a mind like mine. Not breaking the hearts of my friends, or my people, or my partners. Not the fact that it's illegal, not even the pimples on my face, or the fact that my nose is eternally fucked up now. The only thing that matters to me sometimes is getting the next bag and fucking binging on that shit for days on end. And that is the worst part. The fact that nothing matters to me at one point, and it's infuriating because I tell my friends that I love them and that I'm going to stop, but I never fully do. And I keep breaking these promises, and it fucks me up almost every day. It's a struggle, it really is, and I swear that I'm trying my best over here, and I guess that it's not enough some days, but I do want to change. I want to stop doing it because I know it's fucking me up so bad every single day, and I really, really want to stop. There are a fucking bajillion reasons for me to keep trying, and there are some for everybody else that is struggling with this as well. There are people out there who will catch you even if you fall 1,000,000 times, if it's necessary. So lastly, I want to give a special thank you to everybody who helped me with this addiction, with my fallbacks, with my relapses, all my friends who stuck around, everybody who sent me a message of support over the past few months, because there's been so many people who did, and I'm so fucking grateful every day for every single one of you. I want to give a special thanks to my partner, my ex-partner, who broke up with me because of my cocaine addiction, but stuck around because they still love me and want to see me doing better. Our eventual goal is to get back together when we're both in a better place mentally. I want to make them proud because I love them so much, and I want to make everybody else in my life proud as well. I want to get better, I want to make music again, and I want to keep losing classes in college because of this. I want to be me again. So I will. And that is all. Thanks for listening, and I guess I'll see you all when I get slightly better, I guess. Bye, friends. Thank you.